Hello, welcome back. This is Scott Schubert, and in this video, I am going to reveal my deepest, most advanced secrets on how to trade gold. And this video is only for the people who watched my previous video, agreed with that as the way to trade gold, and now want to know even more. So let's do this. If this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe below and click the bell icon and check all so that you can be updated on all of our new videos. You're going to go through this video at least 3 times, and on the second time through, if you want to share this with other people who you know would benefit from this, click on the share button below and share it directly with other people. Okay, if you're watching this video now, you already know that the way to trade gold is to develop a skill of recognizing trends and corrections, impulsive price action, corrective price action, and then developing the rare skill of identifying the turning points where a trend is ending, where a correction is ending. By now, you should have realized that this is true, and you should have been able to prove that it's true by seeing it on charts. Let me know in the comments below if you have realized that that's true. Okay, so some of the biggest, most profound breakthroughs that I have had in learning how to trade gold have happened just within the last couple of years. And the first thing that I would share is that I used to look at gold kind of as an afterthought. If there was dollar news for the US dollar, and then I would just look and see what direction therefore would gold go based on my analysis of the US dollar. Now let me describe how this breakthrough began to happen. I started to look at silver as a comparison to gold. And here is another secret that was shared with me and that I have been observing to be true, and that is that whenever there is an impulsive movement starting on silver, that later gold will follow that impulsive movement. So we have begun to notice that silver leads the way and then gold follows, sometimes by 15 minutes or even an hour later. Really, in time, the silver is moving ahead of gold, and then they both move in the same direction. Okay, the next big observation that gave me a big breakthrough is to just notice that the patterns on gold and silver are not the same. Yet, they are correlated, and by correlated, what we really mean is, in general, that they're moving up and down at the same time, but the patterns that they're making are not the same. So the next big thing that caused a huge breakthrough for me was accomplished through the help of using demo accounts for my primary charting software. This has been kind of the situation for several years, even though I've been using eSignal and Motive Wave, which are paid programs that are standalone, that don't come from any broker. The funny thing is, at the moment, I keep coming back to MetaTrader 5 because it has additional time frames, which, if you don't know why these are critical, you can find that out maybe in some of my other videos, certainly in our live training sessions every day. I have had to explain from time to time why is it that I would recommend that you use a demo account for your primary charting software. And the reason is because I would not choose a broker based on having MetaTrader 5, and most of the good brokers that you might choose don't have MetaTrader 5. And I've often wondered if they're just going to discontinue MetaTrader 5. I've often wondered if MetaTrader is just going to go out of business, which seems like they should, but that's another story. Anyway, MetaTrader 5 is a free software and it has the additional time frames, which these become very, very critical once you learn how to read financial markets. So the next thing is that one of my highest level advanced strategies is what I call comparing correlated pairs. And by comparing correlated pairs, if you know how to read patterns, sometimes insights are really easy to get once you compare different pairs together. One of them, the pattern may be wildly distorted and you can't make it out. You put the other correlated pair next to it and you can go, oh, okay, now I see. Now I see what that pattern is. You look at 3, 4, 5 different correlated pairs and you go, okay, now I see what all of these pairs are more or less doing in their pattern. So one day I was actually looking at silver and I noticed that all the silver pairs had the exact same pattern on the same time frame, almost perfect and almost exactly the same. So what does that tell us? Well, that told me that the pattern was caused by silver. It wasn't caused by the other currencies. So, here's the reason why using this particular demo account has been a tremendous help to me. If you look at gold against the dollar, you're really missing a big part of the picture because you need to compare that to gold against the euro. Gold against the euro I have found to be the #1 clearest of all the gold pairs. Next to that, gold against the Swiss, gold against the pound, gold against the Aussie. So I have several other gold pairs besides just gold against the dollar, and that gives you a tremendous insight into what gold is doing. So one of the first things that I realized long ago is that if you're looking to enter a trade on gold, if you just look at silver on the same time frame, you may get some additional insight even though they're not making the same pattern. If silver comes to a point where it's going to turn down, then gold will also come to a point where it's going to turn down. Right now, and always, if I compare gold against the dollar and I examine the pattern that it's making, seeing this pattern here, and all, like for instance here, all these series of 3-wave patterns in a correction slanting up in this pattern, which sometimes could be an ending diagonal, could be a corrective triangle. And if I compare these waves and the details of this pattern and then compare it to the same pattern on gold against the euro, I may get new insight from the clarity of this pattern. In fact, even right now, I think if you look at the daily time frame, there's gold against the euro, and notice this pattern. Does this look like a trend? And does this last part kind of look like either a triangle correction slanting up or an ending diagonal in a trend? Then when you compare that to the same time frame on gold against the dollar, if you're watching this every day and comparing them back and forth together, there will be many days when doing that will give you new insight that you did not have if you were just only looking at gold versus the dollar. Man, the old days of only looking at gold versus the dollar are history for me, because I would never only look at gold versus the dollar. In fact, I may trust the patterns on gold versus the dollar a lot less than I would trust the patterns on gold against the euro and all the other currencies when you compare them together. Always comparing those even to silver against the same currencies, but knowing now that silver has completely deviated from the pattern that gold is making, and it is still related. You can see the relationship to how they're related, but they're not the same. So before you analyze gold, you can look at, on each time frame, gold against the euro, gold against the pound. Compare the same pattern, go to the different time frames, compare them together on different time frames. Compare this pattern to what you have now on the other gold pairs. Check with gold against the Aussie. Look how clear it is at this time against the Aussie. This might give us even additional insight. What is it doing? Well, you can tell if you know how to read patterns, you may be able to tell what this pattern is currently doing. And then when you get to gold versus the Aussie, maybe it is more clear, maybe it is less clear. Gold against the Swiss. Look at that pattern. Notice how it's different. Notice how it's the same. Then look at gold against the dollar. So this is what I'm doing continually, constantly, not just on gold, but on all Forex currency pairs. This is actually how I trade. Is first, I search for clarity. Second, I compare correlated pairs. Always go to all time frames, longer to shorter. If you know how to read patterns and you have gained experience in learning how to read patterns that financial markets continually make, these things will become more and more clear to you, to where you can look at charts and understand what it's doing, and very likely understand what the next turn would be, and what the next entry would be, and what the criteria for the next entry would be. And when you do that, you can look at what the rest of the world is doing and laugh. You might actually want to cry because of compassion that you have for other people, but it won't bother you at all that the rest of the world determined to do something completely different that has nothing to do with reading the market, knowing when it's turning, any of the normal things that you would think would be the most important things. The rest of the world, they're not looking at that, and that's just fine, isn't it? The more you learn to read charts, the more you will become very, very confident and happy with your ability to do that. And that's why a few people are always very happy and appreciative when I'm showing them some of these things that could give you more insight and could make you able to have that skill that is extremely valuable, the skill of being able to identify turning points and know when to enter trades and know when to exit trades. It's extremely valuable. So in the last video, I showed you how to trade gold, and it requires developing the skill that I'm describing in this video. And the best way to develop that skill is to enroll in our training and our live trading sessions that we have every day, and every day receive more and more guidance and repetition to help you to master that skill. Has there ever been anyone who just mastered the skill of trading by themselves instantly without any guidance and repetition? I don't know. I suppose there could be someone somewhere in the world that happened to, but in general, for most people, the guidance and repetition are the things that help them and enable them to actually achieve this level of mastery. Wouldn't that make sense? So then when you combine that with what I'm describing in this video of comparing gold against all the other currencies, first you must master the ability to read patterns and to identify turning points. And second, you will refine that skill by comparing these correlated pairs. It is like opening a new door. It is like unveiling the secret, or unveiling a higher level of how to solve a puzzle when you didn't have the right pieces. Now you will have the right pieces that you can compare together and immediately come to a conclusion. Now I see what gold is doing. Now I know what the next trade will be. That's what's happening with me constantly every day because of this. First of all, because of developing the skill of reading charts, reading patterns, and identifying turning points. And second of all, by mastering this skill of comparing correlated pairs together. So once again, when you go through this video for about the third time, let me know which part of this you would like me to further explain in the next video. And meanwhile, if you really want to know what works in trading and how to trade gold, just go to tradingmastermind.com and begin by signing up for our free series of training videos that will help you to get started. Let me know in the comments below how this is changing your ability to trade even right now. And until the next time, remember to trade deliberately and live your life deliberately as well.